funny. I have a very similar story to you, Dan'yelle. About 3-4 months out of college, I got an appointment for the Elphaba understudy ensemble track on the second national tour. And it, again, just like Dan'yelle, was a super fast process. I auditioned, and then I had a callback a week later, and then a second callback the next day, and then 3 hours later was told that I booked it and be on a plane in like 2 weeks to Los Angeles. It was a very fast thing. Of course, like coming right out of school is my first professional gig too, and it was the job I've always wanted my whole life, was to just be able to play Elphaba even once, it was the best learning experience of my entire life. Nothing teaches you how to be a part of a show than a show like Wicked that is so big and iconic, and everyone's so professional and on their game. And, you have to constantly challenge yourself and work on yourself. It was a really cool whirlwind thing that I'm still not sure how it happened to me, but I'm thankful for it every single day of my life. And it's just very funny that some of us have similar stories. It can happen so fast. It's crazy.
Over here in Australia, I knew that Wicked was coming for quite a while, and I was tied up in a recording contract at the time, and they weren't going to let me audition for anything. And so there were a lot of prayers said, and the timing just was perfect. That sort of all fell by the wayside at probably a month or so before the auditions started. But then it was really hard to get in the door over here. There was a bit of a kerfuffle with casting, who was casting at the time, and I think there was a changeover of hands during the whole casting process. And so at the beginning they were quite strict, and my husband reminded me last night that that the rumor that I heard, or that my agent told me, was that I wasn't the right look, that I was too dark to go for Elphaba. So I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that wasn't coming from the international creatives. I'm pretty sure that was coming from someone local here in Australia. And his response was, yeah, but she's green. And anyway, thank goodness my agent and some of my agent's friends worked really hard to get me in the door. And then once I was in the door, it was fine. But it's just sometimes getting past that mentality, I guess, that there's a certain look that they want and that's it. But yeah, I was really grateful to be able to be a part of that show, let alone to be able to go on and do Elphaba. And a lot of the times that I ended up going on, especially towards the end of Melbourne, I was pregnant, and then quite heavily pregnant. And so that sort of pushed me even further to, hone my skills and learn how to breathe properly and learn how to control my emotions and all the things that you need to, be able to play that role, let alone do it while you're feeling a bit vulnerable. And then, coming back to do it after having a baby was a breeze compared to during pregnancy. So yeah, it was a great learning process.
That leads into my next question, actually, was how difficult, I consider this role, along with Eva Perón, another role that Maria played, two of the most difficult roles written in the female musical canon because of the high belting, the insane amount of acting, the stage time. How did you guys go into preparing to take on this mammoth of a role? Was there any parts of it that actually terrified you?
I have to say that, in terms of preparation, because I did the show right out of college, I felt like my chords were nice and ready for this type of role. So it was actually timely. I couldn't imagine doing that show right now. Honestly, I feel like it just vocally is a lot. And I'm becoming even more, as I get older, I'm becoming more and more selective of the types of roles that I want to play, the types of scores I want to sing. 8 shows a week, sometimes 9, depending on where you are. If you're doing a regional contract or, Broadway, it's always 8, but I felt pretty ready. You know, I had spent 4 years at a conservatory, you know, training my instrument for a role like that. And so I felt ready to do it. And then you said, what was your other question? I'm sorry.
It was
Lost
it
my
was
train of thought.
no, it was pretty much, did any part of the show scare you, like, to do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was nervous the very first time I went on. I was like, I was excited, of course, but I was also like terrified. I was like, this is a role that, you know, this is the role. Galinda and Elphaba are the show. So, you know, you're in the front, you're out there. So it felt, I was nervous, like at the downbeat, like that very first, like, you know, entrance into Wizard and I sequence. I was like, my heart had to have been like out of my chest, but absolutely thrilling, super thrilling. Like I can't even describe the feeling. Like, I mean, it's been 14 years for me. So, you know, it's been a long time, but it was terrifying that first show. But then once it was over, it was like, oh my God, I did it. I did it. I played the green girl. And it shouldn't matter if she's Black or whatever. I'm sorry, I had to say that, because that ish is annoying. Like, that never made any sense to me. I'm sure we're going to get to that, so I'll just leave it there.
I mean, it was certainly overwhelming. I joined the show about 2 or 3 months after they celebrated the 15th anniversary and of the Broadway company. And then my first month and a half on tour, that the Munchkinland tour celebrated 10 years. So it was like coming into that company and coming into so many women who have done it and have succeeded at it and made it their own big, amazing thing. You know, now Elphaba is this iconic role that frightened me a bit, of like, I feel like I've trained, I feel like I've done the work, and I feel vocally ready, technically ready, but there's always the like the pressure and all of that certainly got me. But the real fear that I had that never left me, even after I left the show, was the getting into the levitator right before Defying Gravity. It didn't matter how many times they let me practice it. Every time I would like hold my breath and sweat like I've never sweat before. And then I'd get in and I'd be like, okay, everything's over. It's like, no, just kidding. You're going to sing the ending of Defying Gravity now, Sarah. Like, the hard part is done. You clicked yourself into a machine. But for some reason, that was always the part that got me. And it wasn't even the height. It was just like getting in. I don't know. For me, that was my scariest part.
For me, I think it was very hard being on tour, and Sarah, you could probably relate to this, like just being on the road, always encountering different allergens, being in different hotels with different like dust mites or what, you know, and there were so many different environmental factors that changed along with weather as we were traveling all over the place. And so having to do a role like, you know, having to be, not even to do a role like Elphaba, but just to be prepared to do the role was really difficult. Because there were times where, again, you know, as we all have probably had, you know, usually you get maybe a half an hour notice sometimes. And again, because for the first year of tour, there was no standby, and because Stephanie was facing an ongoing injury that she was trying to heal from, we did have more of a schedule, but still sometimes, you know, an additional performance would have been thrown my way where I was, you know, but I would only have like maybe 20 minutes before half an hour, you know, with notice. And so I think one of the hard parts was that I was singing the alto line in the show. And so, you know, most days I was warmed up for the alto line, but I always had to make sure that I could like pop up to, you know, those high money notes. So for me, I think my scariest moment was always the wizard. And if that I came out, I was like, okay, I'm going to make it the rest of the show. If I did not happen, I was like, oh, you know, curse words. just curse words, you know, like, how the heck am I going to get through no good deed? And it wasn't even like, you know, I think adrenaline, you know, when you get in the levitator and you're getting up there and you're flying high, and, you know, your ensemble castmates, you know, your friends are all below you, they kind of buoy you, you know, they lift you up and everything. So adrenaline always got me through Defying Gravity. I've heard bootlegs of myself where I was like, ooh, can you please take those off the internet? You know, but for reals though, I mean, real talk, right? But you know, I think no good deed, you know, no good deeds, like right at the end of the show, it's like this emotional breakdown. That to me was like more frightening than anything, especially, you know, when I was in my 20s and young and stupid and was like, oh, maybe I'll try the high Z alternate note today. Just kidding. No, that's not happening. You know, so, you know, like Dan'yelle, I think I'm a lot more conservative. I don't really, you know, sing as much anymore. I'm mostly a teacher now. I do readings and concerts once in a while. But I am definitely much smarter and more conservative about where I, as my college professor likes to say, show my panties, you know, where I like, you know, throw high notes. So I'm much more conservative about it now.
Hi, let's see, is mine. Hi, so sorry to interrupt.
No, I know Patrice has
When
a
she
story.
said Z note, I was like, yes, Z note.
I know Patrice has a story to share, but Saycon, if you could just introduce yourself, the years you were in the show, that would be awesome.
Hi, everybody. Maria, I love that story. That was wonderful. Hi, everybody. I'm Saycon Sengbloh. Hi, Dan'yelle. It's so good to see everyone and see all of your faces. And thank you, Paul, for having us. This is really lovely. I literally just walked in the door. My purse is still sitting on the couch. I'm Saycon Sengbloh, and I started Wicked fall of 2004, I believe, and I finished spring of 2007, I believe. So 120 years ago, like the tail end of the last of the original cast. I literally was in rehearsals the week of Adina's last week, and I was like coming back from getting a sandwich when I came, and the ambulance is there, and she had, I don't know, people know there's this story of how she fell at the end of the second act through the thing wasn't ready or whatever. And I was like, oh Lord, what have I gotten myself into? But it turned out to be a really wonderful opportunity. So funny, I never hear noise in this apartment, and today of all days. But I'm still grounding myself, so I'm really happy to be here and to jump in on some commentary later. But yes, hi everybody. I was Elphaba standby. I never did an ensemble track, nor did I cover Glinda. And yes, Nikki Renee Daniels is such a Glinda. Just a random commentary.
One of the travesties that never happened, her and Laura Benanti.
Yeah, if you ever, yes.
Those two as Glinda is a travesty that it never happened.
So delicious. That would be delicious. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, I just literally just parked the car and threw on a dress because I had on sweats. But yeah, hi everyone.
All right, Patrice, I know you had a story to share about the what even question were we talking about? All right, how did you prepare to take on such a mammoth role and the parts that scared you of it?
Yeah, so I think like everyone here, I started as a cover, and so you're always on the edge of your seat waiting to know, you know, when you're going to be called on. And as it happened for me, our original Elphaba wasn't in the building, our standby was on, and by the end of Wizard and I, she felt like she couldn't continue, so they took me off and greened me up. And my first time literally on stage was running on for the Defying Gravity scene. And I had been up in the levitator, but I had never teched. So I hadn't sung, I hadn't done it in lighting and everything. And so it was one of the most exciting things I've ever done, running on to my first time on stage in green doing that scene. And my sister was in the orchestra at the time. She was playing keys 1, and it was so cool that like I was able to share that experience with her. I think actually my dance teacher was in the audience, happened to be in the audience that day as well, and I could hear her at the when I ran on. She said, "Oh, Patrice!" As though I'd done it just for her, like just tripped the other cover, and so that I could go on for her. But yeah, it was something that as much as you couldn't prepare for that feeling, you just had to make sure that you were ready whenever it happened. And so there are a few times like that where, you know, you'd have to go on mid-show, and I miss that excitement now. Like, yeah, it is very exciting doing cover work. I love it.